ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I hope you had a good break and had some refreshing time for you. All right, the next session will be starting now, and we would like to begin the next lecture. So, next lecture is entitled Success Brewed in Tokyo Lessons from Singapore Crown Digital Ella's Expansion, delivered by Mr. Anan Goplan, Chief Strategy Officer of Crown Digital, and Ms. Sherry Tong, Advisory Board Member of Crown Digital. Mr. Goplan and Ms. Sherry Tong, please.
Can you hear me? Great. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Cheryl Tong. I'm a Singaporean based in Tokyo for about 20 years now. I'm a Japan permanent resident. I founded JeniusLink, a multidisciplinary business consulting and a HR headhunting company, and helping business owners and enterprise around the world to solve their problems. I'm also a startup founder, startup supporter and angel investors. And that's the reason why I'm here today to speak on behalf of Crown Digital. JeniusLink is also the ambassador of SusHi Tech Tokyo 2025. So if you plan to visit Japan in May this year, please do sign up and come join us. If you need a promo code for the ticket, just connect me on LinkedIn or Deloitte colleagues directly, and they will be able to give you some good discount for the tickets. Okay, so without further ado, I'll be moderating today's session, and together with Anan, we'll be talking about Crown Digital's story, the journey in Tokyo, and the lessons learned. Anan?
Thank you, Cheryl. So, Anan, I've been at Crown for the last year as the Chief Strategy Officer. I met Keith, who unfortunately couldn't be with us, but you'll see him virtually in just a bit. Met Keith at an exhibition in Dubai a couple of years ago when I was working in my previous avatar as a startup finance guy in the Silicon Valley, and was very intrigued by Crown and the work that they were doing. They had just finished a very interesting, very successful set of trials in Tokyo. And super excited to be with you all here today. I think we have a lot to share with you, and we'll have some time for questions as well, I think, at the end. So just quickly, my background is mostly finance, investment banking in New York, San Francisco, startup advisory in San Fran, and then now in Singapore, and split my time between here and other parts of the region as well.
Thank you, Anan. I first came across Crown Digital in January 2021. I'm sure some of you remember that was during the COVID lockdown. So during that period, everyone is stuck at home. So I started a new hobby, which is co-hosting a daily live podcast called Tech News Around the World with an American tech bro who is based in Thailand, running a beach resort on a private island off the coast of Koh Samui. His name is Tyler Crowley, and he is often credited to be the man behind the Unicorn Factory of Europe, based out of Stockholm. And I'm sure you know Spotify. It is a music streaming app. He's the best friend of Tyler, and basically they look similar, so you can look up in the internet if you want to see how he looks like. So basically, as I was running this tech news, I need to browse for daily tech news, and I wish to look for something interesting from Asia to impress the international audiences, mainly Americans. So one day, I found on Straits Times, there's this article saying, oh, there's a Singapore startup that just closed a deal and raised funds from JR East, a very traditional Japanese company. I was super impressed and decided to reach out to Keith and congratulate him. And since then, we have been keeping in touch. Unfortunately, Keith cannot be with us here today. He's in Amsterdam now, launching Ella. And he has prepared a short video to say hello. Unfortunately, the big background noise of the video was too loud, so we had to enhance it technologically. But it is not perfect. The voice may sound a little strange. It's probably enough to impress, not impress, to let you hear what he's trying to say. Let's watch the video. That's the article from Straits Times.
Hi everyone, my name is Keith. I'm sorry I can't be in Singapore because I'm here in the Netherlands, and it's a very special day because we're launching Ella for the first time in Europe right here. Come with me. So this is my baby. Well, it's a bit noisy here, so I try to be closer and have it. Oh, I hope you can hear me. I want to thank you for attending this conference. Sorry I can't be in Singapore, but this is a very special moment because we're going to share with you our journey in going into Tokyo. And I want to thank the Tokyo Metropolitan government for supporting this. My colleagues, Cheryl and Anan, is there to share about my story. And Tokyo has a very special place in my heart because when I was a startup, we built robots and I was hoping to change the world with robotics and AI. And at that time, when I first started about 5 years ago, it was just an idea. But I was given a chance to be in Tokyo, and I met Jethro. Jethro then introduced me to JR East, and they became a seed investor. And then our journey in Japan was through the help. So what I'm telling you is that there's an ecosystem. All of you are here today probably because you are interested in entering the Japanese market, and you are introduced, to startups like ourselves. We can share with you the journey, and I hope that you have a fruitful sessions with my colleagues. Please ask some questions, and we're happy to share with you our journey. Thank you very much, and hope to see you soon.
Meet Ella, Singapore's first fully autonomous robot barista.
You're on your way to work and you want a coffee. Get onto our app, order, customize, pay, and Ella will produce.
All right, let's take a look. Ella can whip up a fresh cup of joe at 4 times the rate of her human counterparts and will soon be available to subway passengers across the city-state.
You can then program this to replicate what we do in the coffee shop.
And her creator? Well, he spent years in the finance industry before deciding to take a coffee break.
I was 35 years old in finance, and I thought, it's my chance. I have got to do something, build something for myself.
Ella is the multi-million-dollar brainchild of 41-year-old Keith Tan, a former wealth manager who gave up the daily grind in 2015 to launch his own coffee shop.
But it wasn't long after he got his joint off the ground that he began to discover the challenges of the food and beverage industry.
It's really hard to hire and retain staff for the F&B industry, especially in Singapore. And that limited our scalability. We had 4 shops that were facing labor crunch. And I thought, I've just invested in this company. It's going to grow. It's going to grow more than that. So then I decided it was time to really look into technology.
With that, the idea for what is today Crown Digital was born. An Internet of Things startup aiming to address the difficulties within food and beverage.
Ella is the company's debut product. It came to life in 2018 after years of experimentation. Here's how it works.
With a mobile app, you can choose your drinks. That's where you can customize. If you want to add flavors, buy now, check out. This order then processes in our backend, goes to the cloud, and it comes back down here. Over here you can see my 2 orders, Keith and Ella, springs into action.
Encased in a transparent kiosk measuring 5 square meters,
Ella's autonomous arm, which is produced by robotics company Techman Robot, operates around the clock and can serve up to 200 cups of coffee per hour. The ingredients, fresh milk and beans, only need to be topped up every 360 servings. This is monitored through an app, which alerts delivery drivers.
Our delivery drivers are following the apps, so the job scope will be sent to them through the mobile app. They know exactly when to top up, and when they do, our command center will be updated.
The command center can also detect and resolve spillages or machine faults remotely through inbuilt systems.
We are running multiple AI workloads that's monitoring different aspects of the production.
Ella is designed for high-density grab-and-go environments, like airports, transport hubs, and offices, where speed is paramount.
There's opportunities where you just want speed, consistency, and ease of ordering, and that's where robotics can really come in.
Being efficient means that cost savings are passed on to consumers too. For comparison, this latte by Ella costs 4 Singapore dollars, while a typical barista coffee in Singapore costs 6 Singapore dollars. COVID has only boosted that demand. As more people became conscious of hygiene during the pandemic, Keith secured Ella's first retail operation in this central Singapore shopping mall in 2020. Crown Digital has since signed deals to roll out its robotic baristas at selected stops on the East Japan Railway Company's network of 1,657 stations and at 30 train stations in Singapore operated by SMRT. This will make Ella's grab-and-go coffee available to a combined 18 million daily commuters. The two transport operators have also invested in Crown Digital, bringing its total funding to over $3 million and valuing it at over $35 million.
We envision Ella's going to be everywhere, in public spaces, train stations, offices.
Keith argues that robots like Ella are simply making the way for more skilled human jobs.
We're not replacing that human experience in a cafe. Eventually, automation will come in for the bread and butter, and then you have the human experience where you can pay them better, retain them, and build that human experience.
For Keith, his robot barista is barely scratching the surface, and he has big plans for how more robots can help with our everyday lives.
We're starting off with coffee, but we're not ending with that. Ella's going to go on to do food, for example, deliveries. The use cases are coming in from around the world. There are going to be many different verticals where Ella could be deployed.
That's a great overview. So Anan, since Keith cannot be with us here today, why don't you just reiterate generically about the vision, the story, and the success of Crown Digital, Ella the Robot Barista?
Sure thing. Yeah. So Keith, as you've seen in that video, operated 4 coffee shops in Singapore. And one of the biggest problems, and when he and I have been talking about sort of the business and why the business actually makes sense and what it does from a margin perspective and why the idea works. The biggest problem that he had was really hiring, retaining labor, making sure that workers actually showed up to work in the morning at the right time, that the stores were open. And if I'm sure you're all aware, there's a morning rush hour for coffee, and then there's a post-lunch rush hour for coffee. And if you don't hit either one of those two, you generally tend to lose money in that space. And so that was the problem he had. And he was telling me there was one day where 2 of his staff called out sick, which meant that he had to hop between 2 cafes all morning long, which is not the ideal solution. So one of the cafes was, I believe, I think it was a DHL Innovation Hub here in Singapore. And he met with some of the engineers who were interested in trying to automate coffee, and then got selected for an Intel program up in Penang, and met up with some of the Intel folks as well. And that actually started the project of trying to create a fully automated barista, really, right? So the robot barista, and really, if you think about it, the mechanism of how a cup of coffee gets delivered to you in a cafe is really, you put in an order, some lady guy takes a cup, puts it under a machine, presses a bunch of buttons, right, and or steams, some milk, gets a espresso, adds milk to it, whatever it is, and hands it to you. And what we've done is we've replaced that barista, the guy or girl who's making the coffee, with a TechMan robot hand that just picks up the coffee, puts it into under a machine, gets you a barista quality type of coffee cup in under 60 seconds. And that's what we're contending with. So 200 cups an hour, that comes from about 4 machines that are in each big Ella machine complex. So basically, what they've done is they've designed a commercially viable system that also has a queuing mechanism. So if you walked into a coffee shop today, someone has to take your order, right? Or you do a mobile order on Starbucks or something. We have a mobile order system. We were mobile first when we started. So what that means is, we the first one of the first stores we had was at Raffles Place, and I remember after I sort of got into Ella, I would, I live in Yio Chu Kang, so I'd take the train down to Raffles Place, and by City Hall, I would have put in my order, and at Raffles Place, it would be kind of ready, right? You walk in, you scan your QR code, you get your cup of coffee, and it's ready to go. You're not waiting in line anywhere, and that to me was like just great efficiency, like anywhere, right? So we rolled out Ella in 8 different locations in Singapore. And we tested a few locations. So the location you saw at in the video is Plaza Sing, which was the first location that that Ella was in, and that was partly during the initial lockdown period of COVID, just after the initial lockdown, in between the multiple lockdowns that that Singapore had. But we proved that concept worked. And then we rolled it out to B2B. So we rolled it out to Standard Chartered and SAP. And both of them still have our machines in town. I believe for SAP, it's more internal use for the employees. For StanChart, it's for clients as well. And then we have another StanChart machine at Changi Business Park. But my favorite machines, Cheryl, are at the airport. So there are 3 machines, 2 at Terminal 2 and 1 at Terminal 3. Being sort of, with, of course, I have the advantage of being with Crown, so a little bit of, self-serving mechanism there. But I know exactly the timing it takes to get from the immigration counter to the Ella machine. And I used to fly every Tuesday morning, I remember, out of T2. And I'd put in the order just as I was, for those of you who are flying, before the non-passport things came up, just as you're scanning your passport, if you put in your order, your coffee would be ready at the Ella machine. It was unbelievable. Yeah, just in time. You grab it, run to the, drink it on the way to the gate, because you can't bring your coffee into the gate right here in Singapore. So that was part of the story. We realized that there was 2 sort of interesting industries, right, that we did really well in. So one was hospitals, because someone always needs coffee 24 hours a day. The cafes would close. So we started out at Mount Elizabeth, and that was really awesome. And then we decided to take it to Sengkang and Alexandra hospitals, and that's where we are today. Sengkang does basically more cups than any of the other any of the other locations combined by 6 a.m. in the morning, which is unbelievable. And then, after that, it's just, just continues throughout the day, because at night, doctors, surgeons, nurses, family members, right, who are there definitely need coffee. So that's something that we've experimented with. And I think, the sort of partnership with JR East and, and Leave a Nest, which we'll talk about in a sec, allowed us to test it in train stations. And so, we tested it in Raffles Place. We tested it in the airports. We've realized that for us, the airports are a better location. People tend to mill around longer. And it's kind of cool. Like, you see the kids kind of like looking at the robot device, and they're so mesmerized by it, right? And so some of our engineers will go down and just, be like fixing the device, and there will be like a whole bunch of kids around it, and they'll be excited by it. But the one thing for me is the economics just work. much better margins than a brick and mortar F&B establishments as you would imagine, and much less maintenance. So.
Yes. And I do understand that Japan is Tokyo is the first entry point of Japan that Ella expanded overseas, and since then Ella have been visiting many places around the world, especially to exhibitions where Keith is at now in Amsterdam. So do you want to elaborate on Ella's global presence?
Sure, yeah. So conferences are a big part of our journey, and so we have two Ellas that just travel around the world. So there's one at Amsterdam right now. There's another one on transit to the Middle East for another conference. The one in Amsterdam is going to Barcelona, I think, after this, right? And so basically, if you've ever attended, I'm sure all of you have, like a massive conference or a massive like crowded event. There's one coffee stand and one barista, and like a line that stretches out to like the next exhibition like down the street. We're able to serve 8 cups of coffee at any point in time, 200 cups an hour, and that really like is a big draw for all of these spaces. But the robotics again, is a major draw as well. Japan was our first global trial run. Tokyo actually was our first, sort of global expansion. We did 2 tests, one in Tokyo, one in Yokohama, at the train stations. Found that it worked really well. I think we were one of the first companies to do the integration with the Suica cards. And made it very convenient for people to buy coffee with the Suica cards, which was really helpful.
Which is the EasyLink equivalent in Singapore.
In Singapore, right? Yeah. And that was just rolled out like a few years ago. I remember, like Suica was maybe
decades already.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Anyway, so we were so that was really a big selling point for us in Japan, and we've continued, kind of growing out. Working closely with JR East and Leaveness to think about Japan as well. I think we'll talk about that in a sec. We've also just recently launched in the Philippines, Manila. I'm actually heading there tonight to actually like meet with some of our colleagues out there. And we just inked a deal in Saudi Arabia. We're going to be putting machines out in Jeddah with a very large supermarket chain. We sent our first machines to New Zealand with a real estate company that's going to be launched Q1. The US, we're in multiple talks with hospitals, again, hospital chains, universities, and educational institutions all over to partner. And so what we're finding is there is a lot of worldwide interest in these machines, and our ability to, build a company in Singapore, scale it through, the help of some of our, our friends and supporters in Japan through the initial sort of investments has really like helped pave the way, I think.
Great. Okay. So next we will dive deeper into the Tokyo market. Let's see what's going on.
JR 東日本などは駅の店頭でロボットがコーヒーを入れるバリスタの実証実験を始めました。狭いスペースの有効活用や人手不足に対応する狙いです。
スマホのアプリでコーヒーを注文し、QR コードをかざすとロボットがコーヒーを入れてくれます。
JR 東日本はシンガポールの企業と連携して今日から東京駅と横浜駅でロボットのバリスタの実験を始めました。駅の限られた狭いスペースの有効活用を目的としていて、わずか5平方メートルのスペースで40種類のコーヒーを1時間に200杯入れることが可能です。また、飲食店が抱える人手不足の問題に対応する狙いもあり、実験結果を踏まえて今後実用化の検討を進めます。
Okay, so Keith first presented, I think he pitched at the demo day in Tokyo, and that's when he was spotted by Jethro, who went to him and asked if he need any help for Japan market, and that's when Keith just say, okay, it will be good if you can introduce us to JR East, and that's exactly what Jethro did. And from that introduction, JR East decided to do a seed investment in Crown Digital, and also support them with the test run in Japan. That was, I think, in early 2021. If all of you remember, there was supposed to be an Olympic in Tokyo 2020. But unfortunately, because of the COVID, it was postponed by a year to July 2021. So initially, I think it was meant for Ella to be in serving coffee during the Olympic. However, there was still travel ban, so it was delayed. So eventually, with the help of JREs, once Japan opened its border for business travelers, they were managed to able to secure visas to enter Tokyo to do a test run for Ella in December 2021. So that's when, as Anna mentioned, they had the two test run in JR Tokyo Station and Yokohama Station. That's when I was actually at the opening ceremony at JR Tokyo Station. There was a big hype. So the Japanese mainstream media were all there. Even the Singapore Straits Times and Lian He Zhaobao was there. And our ambassador in the Singapore Embassy in Tokyo was also there to grace the occasion. So it was a huge media coverage and exposure for Ella. At that time, I think it was still quite a young company. Yes. So I think right now, the current status, do you want to brief the audience on what is the current status now in Japan?
In Japan, yeah. So we had the two good trials, and beyond that, what we've done is set up a company in Japan. We're about to start, getting investments into that company from VCs and private equity, and we're on the path towards searching for a team to really run it and scale it. We've identified, out of the 1,657 stations for JR East, I think we've identified about 200 or so of those that we can put machines into that makes sense in terms of footfall and hours of operation, etc. So we're hoping that by Q2, late Q2, early Q3 this year, we'll be launching back in Japan. So that's on the path. We're excited.
And I also heard from Keith that you have built relationship with Kobashi Manufacturing. In the case that Ella is going to go huge in Japan, they will be doing local manufacturing of the robot.
Yeah, that's right. So, and again, this is thanks to our introductions from JREs and Leave a Nest and the other sort of Japanese partners that have been very instrumental for us. They introduced us to Kobashi. Kobashi is amongst other things, they do contract manufacturing of these massive commercial machinery, and they have a plant in Malaysia that's actually going to help us scale. But also do some kind of building out in assembly out in Tokyo as well.
Yes. Okay, great. So I think some of the topics here may be repeated because I understand that our colleagues from Deloitte have a very extensive explanation about the pros and cons of market entry in Japan. So specifically for Tokyo, the advantages of Tokyo market for Ella is of course the high foot traffic. So with all the train stations, the urban centers, the huge tower office buildings and malls, at the lobbies, where Ella can be deployed to maximize its potential on the convenience factor. So, of course, technology openness of those living in Tokyo is also something that, is attractive for companies like Crown Digital. With the aging population and manpower shortage, AI and robotics and culturally accepted and, often celebrated. And of course, Tokyo is a very sophisticated market in terms of their consumer sophistication. So with the high standards, it will force the company to want to continue to improve, to become better and better. And with this on hand, when you decide to conquer the rest of the market, you will definitely be able to impress. So as you can see just now, there's a lot of media coverage and global visibility. Anan, can you imagine if Ella was first launched in maybe one of the major cities in Southeast Asia like Kuala Lumpur, Jakarta or Bangkok? Do you think the Straits Times will follow through the story from the beginning to the end over 1 year?
I don't think so. I think we got a lot of attention because we had launched in Tokyo, to be honest, and we were a Singapore-grown tech company bringing technology to that was going to be scaling in Japan. I think that narrative was really crucial for us to get all the media attention, helped us with our fundraise and growth really over the last few years.
Yes, and I think a very, very traditional company like JR is who decided to collaborate with a young startup from Singapore. Definitely, it's a segment to the rest of the world that if you have, if you have the ambition and if you are serious to expand into Japan, definitely there will be a lot of local support that you can leverage on to further your business. And I think one of the reason why Tokyo, it's all over media in Singapore is also because I think we all know that Singaporeans love to visit Japan. So I live in a very central part in Tokyo, near Ginza. So usually during the June and December holidays, when you walk along my neighborhood, you would definitely hear Singlish. So I always ask my friend, why is it that I'm feeling that whole Singapore is in Tokyo now? So I think they all love good food. Okay, great. So talking about the disadvantages of the Tokyo market, just now was brought up by Genpei-san, language and cultural barriers. So, but the good news is Tokyo has the most numbers of foreigners, and good news for Singaporeans, there are more fluent English and Mandarin speaking individuals in Tokyo that will be able to give a better time for your life and your business in Tokyo. Well, if you ask me why Mandarin, I'm sure you can imagine there's tons of Chinese tourists. So in Japan, they tend to want to hire those who can speak in the so-called their customers' native language to serve them better. Okay, and of course, cultural difference. It was also mentioned just now that there's a hierarchy, bureaucracy, structure that you have to understand how to do business there. Of course, for me, I'm a Singaporean, so I usually try to leverage on the advantage that I have. I'm a foreigner, but I'm based in Japan, understanding their language. But I will use my Japanese when it's not necessary. So meaning to say that it is that the Japanese will not respect you if you try to be too native and try to act like them, because ultimately you are not a Japanese. But if you are a non-Japanese who understand their culture and try to speak their language, they are usually kind to you and very generous, and they tend to want to help you. So don't be too stressed out that you must pass JLPT1 before you enter Japan. No, you don't have to. As long as you know enough, you're flexible enough, you go there, you just start learn a bit, just to try to blend into their culture, as in blend into the culture. Don't try to be too loud, or don't try to bring your own culture from your country to Japan. I think you'll be most welcome to visit Tokyo, especially to live your life or to run your business. Okay, so next, regarding risk aversion, you must understand that generally the consumers are cautious with new solutions, so they always demand robust quality assurance. So make sure you be quality conscious and want to do a good job and provide good solutions when you are in places like Tokyo, because they have a lot of options. It's very competitive. Okay, and high operational costs. Of course, this really depends on how you see it. But real estate, logistics, and staffing expenses can be quite significant. But the good news is, you can always leverage on the favorable foreign exchange rate now if you decide to want to enter the Japan market, especially through Tokyo, which I believe is the easiest entry point throughout the whole Japan if you want to do a business in Japan. Okay, so what are the key? Before I go on, Anan, do you have any things to add?
No, I think you covered it all, and I think our colleagues at Deloitte were also very helpful in this. I think for us, at Crown, we found that building relationships and trust very early on. And Cheryl, we had this conversation when we were kind of talking about what we were going to say here. Like the trust part for us was really key, right? And I think that was helpful here. But I think that leads into a little bit of success.
Great. So, in order to succeed in Tokyo, what's key? Of course, the first and foremost is patience. Everything works there, but everything takes time, and sometimes it takes much longer time than expected, especially when you come from places like Singapore, when you can do a lot of things online using a SingPass, setting up companies in just probably within the day, and set up an account within the week. Please manage your own expectation, because this is not going to happen when you are in Tokyo. So from incorporating company, getting an office address, setting up bank accounts, getting visas, or going through all the regulatory procedures, it all takes time, because they are very careful and risk adverse, as we mentioned just now. But through support systems like what our colleagues just now mentioned, you can always find help. Just ask, and somebody will guide you in a direction that will be able to help you expedite your business expansion to Tokyo. Prioritize quality. Every detail counts. So precision and reliability and consistency, they are non-negotiable. So don't just say chin chai, or just be happy with like mediocre solutions. That's not going to work in Tokyo. Okay, prioritize quality. We touched on that just now. Localize thoroughly. So adjust your products, branding, and service style to resonate with the Japanese culture. If you find that you need to do a lot of business development with the Japanese customers, it is probably better for you to hire someone locally who is able to navigate and help you have a more productive so-called sales pitch. Eventually, you must understand, in Japan, you don't really get an answer in the meetings. There's such a thing called communication. You will have after office drinks, and if they invite you to a second party, they call it nijikai. Then maybe you know that they are happy to welcome you into their inner circle, and eventually, with more long-term relationship building, you will be able to close your deal. Hopefully, the sooner the better. Okay, as mentioned, build your trust gradually and leverage on partnerships. I think JR East provide a very good help to Crown Digital, and that's the reason why things can go on so smoothly. So if you can find a very good partner locally, please leverage on that. Exceed expectation. Deliver an exceptional product and customers experience, so that you will be able to stand out in the competitive market. So the reason why Ella, during the Tokyo station launch, when I was there, Japanese like to take picture, right? Yeah, so that's what's happening. So whenever they go past Ella, they usually stop by to snap it. I don't know eventually whether they post it or not. That's I don't follow social media, I'm sorry, but I'm sure that's the reason why it garnered a lot of attention during the launch. Anything to add, Anan?
Yeah, no, I think this is it. I mean, I think part of my experience during business in Japan was really the approval process, and I think you touched on it. Our partners at Deloitte were touching on it earlier as well. But basically, there's so many different layers that someone prepares a proposal, and they need to clear multiple layers going up and going back down and through the chain. And I think for us, like having the right relationships at the right level with the right partner allowed us to bypass some of these layers and really reach the decision makers, which allowed us to do the trial pretty quickly in Japan and get the approvals that were needed. So as you're thinking about building the partnerships, try and think about who you're building the partnerships with, who is the real decision maker in the room, and why does that actually matter, in your growth and your scaling.
Yeah, because if you're strategic about finding out who is the eventual decision maker, it will definitely help you to speed up the process. But of course, try not to be too aggressive.
And
Okay.
be on time, right?
Yes.
That was something that you said was important.
Yes, I
Yeah.
was just telling Anan that because in Japan, in Tokyo, be on time or before time is taken for granted. But I come back to Singapore, I realized that a lot of people tend to come late. So I was sharing a story with Anan that whenever I come back to Singapore, my friend will ask me, "Oh, Cheryl, let's go for lunch or dinner. What do you want to eat? I'll bring you." Then I'll just tell them, I can eat whatever is good, but there's only one request: please be on time. Because I realize there's a tendency in Singapore that whenever they, like for example, they arrange a meeting at 7 o'clock to meet you for dinner, you realize that they will leave office at 7 o'clock, and then they will blame it on the traffic condition. I'm sorry, Anan, that's is that what happened? So I was telling Anan, if you want to do business with Japanese properly in Japan especially, please be ahead of time. So leave your house half an hour earlier so that you can be there at least 10, 15 minutes earlier to get ready. Okay, so I share this slide. I jot down everything because I think this is very important. Entering Tokyo is not just about breaking into any new market. It is about proving your company's ability to strive in one of the most demanding and rewarding environments in the world. Success here is a segment of excellence. It is not easy, but it's worth the effort. Gambarimashou. Okay, so we have time for question and answer. So please do ask question, and me and Anan will try our best to answer you. I think there will be a mic landing, right? So raise your hand so that Kubota-san and his team can find you.
Hi, Cheryl. Okay. Hi, Cheryl and Anand. Congratulations on Ella. But a very interesting part that Ella journey will have to take is to multilingual as well. How do you address the multilingual aspect going into multiple countries? And they have a very typical, culture that you need to replicate. Right now, like Cheryl was saying about Singaporean getting late, we call it IST in India. India stretchable time issues says 7 people reach at 9 o'clock, that they don't leave 12, 12:30, 1 o'clock next day. We have even a worse kind of a culture there. Anand will bear testimony to that as well. So how will you address the nuances of the linguistic aspect when you have a machine to address coffee or other food in the future?
I'll talk about Japan. Maybe Anan can share about the rest of the world. So for Crown Digital, what they did for the app is, of course, the app have to be in Japanese. So when they do the test run, even for the test run, they also localize the app into Japanese version. I remember I was with Keith just right before the launch. That means the launch is in the morning, maybe at 9 a.m. The app was just ready, like within the hour before the grand opening. So, and during this period of time, there's actually communication between Crown Digital. Of course, they are in Tokyo already, and then their engineers are in Singapore, and also the JR team in Tokyo. They have to communicate to make sure that the app is perfect before they are allowed to be launched. So, and that's just what they are persistent enough to pull through, and they were just right in time before the launch that morning. Anan, hi. Yes.
Place itself, rather just like an app. I'm not talking app at all. I'm talking way beyond that.
Yes.
Say when you talk about the automation, the machine is there. Machine is communicating with the human at that point of time. How do you address that?
Yeah.
It is then still you will have to have a human. The whole experience to automate is still not complete.
Yes.
So
That's the part that I'm raising.
Yeah. So the all of the UX and UI in Ella right now is all multilingual, and has multilingual first capabilities that we've built on a AI based platform that works at the moment. So as Cheryl was saying, we adapted it for the Tokyo trials. All of the communication was in Japanese, and it's not just about having touch screens in Japanese, like you correctly pointed out. It's about doing research in the market to understand what preferences are of Japanese customers in the market, right? Like, so I'll give you a very interesting example. We just launched in the Philippines a couple of weeks ago, and in the Philippines, our trial runs of coffee were good but not great, and we were thinking about what the experience was. You know, we're talking to people, and apparently it's just not sweet enough, and that was the biggest problem. The second biggest problem was, the milk that we thought was great from a Singaporean taste perspective was not what they thought was great. And so we had to switch out our providers, right? So there's still, as much as you can tailor, it's easier, a little bit easier for us on the tech front, because you can now bring in all these models to do multilingual interfaces. You can have this in multi currencies and things like that. What is a little bit more difficult that doesn't change is really understanding how you set up a similar business based on this model in multiple countries, right? So understanding consumer preferences is still going to be there, and if you've got to have the right sort of partners who can guide you on that journey, whether it's government or non-government. The other example I'll quickly give is we are in the process of launching in Jeddah, in Saudi Arabia, and in Jeddah, the go-to mechanism is really a drive-through, because no one gets out of their cars in the weather and all of that jazz. So how do you build a automated robotic barista meant for a drive-through kiosk? And that required a little bit of like understanding what the local market was like. We're able to localize very quickly now with with the new advances in technology, and then payments, the payment backends and all that need to also be automated as well. But yeah, sure.
Okay.
Hi. Yeah. From the side. Hi, I'm Saad. Arvind, very interesting. I love it. It's music to my ears when you talk about UX and UI. And localization is something which I worked on a global side in my ex-company, but now I'm on the investment side. We just invested in a similar thing, what you have done in robotics and out of Singapore. We have tied up with JR Rail also, and we are moving on into the Middle East and into Indian markets. So that's what we are doing. So my question to you is very simple. I mean, you've been in with JR Rail a lot longer than we have. We've just tied up about a year back. So how many machines have you been able to get an order from JR Rail, and how long was your process for you? I know it's a very long process. So since we're on the investment side, we have moved away. We are letting Japan process, and we are doing localization the same like what you are doing. Is we are tying up with a company to manufacture in Japan, because we understand we are very clear, and when we invest is that we're very clear on the product, and we want to make sure it is the best, and we know how Japan works. They want the best, because I have worked previously on my UX and UI side. We worked with luxury brands. Like, if something would take you about a month in Europe, in Japan and Asia, we take about 2 to 3 days. That's the time difference. So we understood that market, and when we told the luxury brands before that this is the thing, and they could not understand that. So these are a few of the nuances. You have to understand how Japan, it's not only Japan, it's also Asia. Cultural, as you were talking about culture is very important. You can have a fantastic product, but if you do not adapt to the current culture, you're in a big problem. And thank you very much for what you've done.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think for us, it was interesting because of the strength of our connections. The initial investment into Crown from JR East and a few other Japan, specifically Tokyo-based partners, was quite quick. I would say it was a few months of diligence, and then an investment, and that was about the quickest I've ever seen.
I think Deloitte was the one doing the due diligence, right?
Yeah.
Coincidentally.
Yeah. And that was pretty quick. The trial was also set up quite quickly, and the trial went on. We intentionally decided to focus on growing the Singapore business and the R&D in Singapore before we went out and started putting it in stations globally, and that was a management and board decision to make sure the R&D was wrapped up, make sure the UX UI was wrapped up, and all of that jazz. And so now we've restarted sort of the planning for the launch, and it's great. Like, I'll say, like, you call JR East and they're like, let's meet like in a couple of days, and the whole team is there ready to go. Partners, they will organize and get ready for. So when you actually take a trip out to Tokyo, you're constantly meeting the right people, and they've been very good facilitators for us in that respect. So we're hoping to launch again Q3, so that would be about a year of us, like, prepping and going at that point. So I'd say it's been about a quarter or so for us to, like, re-engage and get going.
Okay, maybe we have time for one last question if anyone is interested in any topic. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thanks for sharing. The price reduction for the coffee offered by Ella compared to traditional shops are significantly lower. So I guess that's translated from a cost saving from what's not right. Yeah. And I believe that with Crown's experience is having a traditional coffee shop cafe model plus the automation model, there must be some capex opex different that make this work. So maybe we know all the businesses are different, but with a yardstick comparison with such a successful business like Crown Digital, we just wanted to understand what is the additional, what has been the reduction from the cost saving, so that you can offer such competitive price for the consumer.
Finance question, yay! That's I love those. As the finance guy at Crown, right? So I think for us, really, it's two things: real estate and labor. The fact that we don't have real estate, is amazing. We basically go into a lot of spaces just paying a small rental fee, and that's it. And then the labor savings is unbelievable. So basically, we have one operator who can go and maintain 3 to 4 machines. That's equivalent to you having 4 cafes and having one person serve you coffee all day long. So those two are the main things. I mean, I think the products and ingredient base, about the same. The other thing that has been really helpful, which is I think the Achilles heel of a lot of cafes, is customization. How do you do a vanilla latte with an extra pump of XYZ and 2 shots of blah 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 and all of those things, which we can now automate and get it to you in the same cup in the same amount of time versus having a barista having to do it by hand. I think that is really the sort of signature.
Great, just in time. Thank you very much for your attention and your presence. We can continue to communicate at the networking session later. So thank you, Anan.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anan and Miss Cheryl, for a very insightful session. I hope you all had a great idea